Say hi to Milo. Thank you. Also, do you like my Christmas tree? Christmas tree. Hello everybody, happy Monday. Welcome back to my channel. I am Scotty Studio, and today I will be doing a voiceover and kind of a walkthrough of two Procreate pieces that I did. One was a redraw of a portrait that I created like 3 or 4 years ago. The original was an acrylic painting that I did during quarantine. And then the other one is a character piece that I did a few weeks ago. Yeah, so the theme of these two is the color red. I don't typically use the color red because it's so jarring and it's not really one of my favorite colors, but these two pieces, I really feel like I knocked it out of the park, and I actually kind of ended up liking the color red by the end. So I'm just gonna talk you guys through what I did and my process for those two, and so I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so here I am in Procreate. I'm throwing down this sketch of her face, just her head and her pose. As you can see in the corner, that's my original acrylic painting that I did. That it was done in quarantine 4 years ago now, 3 years ago. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so right now I'm just going in kind of just sketching in the line work so I know where I want things. It's pretty messy at this point. I want to keep it pretty loose just so I can kind of cut things and carve into it and make it the way that I want it to. So yeah, I'm just adding details in all around, making sure that it's, you know, in the form that I want it to. I was really trying to pay attention to the way that she filled up the space because I loved the roundness of her hair, and then slimming into her shoulders and neck, and then the big poof of her like fur coat that she has. So I was really focusing on the silhouette and the geometry of that. So, and right now what I'm doing, I'm going into my second layer of line work. Actually, this bit here that you're seeing now pretty much gets completely trashed, and I go back to the original sketch. But that's okay. It's really good to, you know, try things and see if it works, and if it doesn't, go back to what, you know, go back to the foundation. So yeah, I'm just tweaking things, moving things. At this point, I'm really happy with the line work. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do a lot with this, but the steps that I take when I add color and start to render it, I'm just a little bit disappointed with. Here I am adding in those colors now. I think the color choice that I picked when I did this originally was so good. It's such a good color scheme. I don't know what about it just makes my brain click, but the red with the bluey gray background, and then her skin is like this orangey nice color. So pretty. I really love that color scheme. So right now I'm going in with the hair and creating shadow, creating depth. Something that made me dislike this part of my rendering process was how smudgy and smooth I ended up making everything. So as you can see right now, the hair is pretty like smooth, and you can't see different shapes and like sets of her face, but I end up reworking that. So right now I just added a multiply mask, and I'm trying to create a dramatic lighting effect. I'm really trying to work on my lighting these days. I ended up scrapping this, but I think it's just cool to show how far a process can go, even if you're not really sure that you like it. But I was really just being experimental here, trying to figure out where the shadows and shapes would go. It was really hard for me to do lighting, trying to figure out where exactly it's hitting and where the shadows would be without distorting the face and the color. So it was fun to experiment, and it's cool to show you guys that process of experimentation, but it didn't end up working out for me. It really did not, but that's okay. This part actually did come out kind of cool with the shadow, as I did kind of, I guess, like a halo light. I don't know. You know, when like a shadow is casted and it's not just complete darkness, but it kind of fades into a different color. I tried to do that. So as you can see, I scrapped that whole mask completely and just threw it away because it wasn't giving me the oomph that I liked about the original piece. I do plan to play around with shadows and lighting again, just not in this one because I had such a clear vision for it. It just didn't align with that. So right now I'm adding shadows and highlights, and this is when things get really way too smooth. As you can see, I'm starting to try and blend out some of the line work. I'm trying to make things look really cohesive, but I think I was just too zoomed in, and I was spreading, you know, I was blending things too much, and just I did the the blur tool a bit. It just ended up looking too muddy, and this is when I get rid of it. I was like, no, just scrap it, throw it all away. I don't like it. So I go back to my original sketch, and then I start really breaking down the line work. I just ended up using the messy original loose sketch and erasing the bits that I didn't like and just tweaking things, making things look more refined, which ends up coming out really, really great. And I think this is something I want to stick with as I create more. I want to just make a loose piece of line work, duplicate the layer, turn one off, and then just refine that loose sketch to make sure that like I'm able to put things exactly where I want to put it. And I feel like when I create a loose sketch like that, I see the vision so much more clearly than when I go over it again with the second piece of line work. And I know a lot of different artists do that as well, and I'm just glad I figured that out now that I like it this way. So yeah, I cut a lot of things down. Her eyes have been refined a lot, kind of just smushing things around so proportionately it fits a lot better. I'm trying to go in and add a little bit of I guess shading and just extra details with the line art rather than doing that with the color and the rendering. That's just to get rid of some of the overworkedness, if that makes sense. Yeah, so continuing to refine it, trying to figure out what I want to do with her chest. It is a really awkward angle. Like that shoulder is really pressed forward, so it was hard for me to figure out how I wanted to, you know, make that show, but I ended up kind of just pushing the fabric up a bit so I wouldn't have to do so much work. Yeah, adding more detail. Her eyes have really come to life at this point. I've added a catch light in them, in all three of them, and just a little bit of shading in the pupil. Not too much work in the pupil because I feel like the glossiness comes to effect when there's more light in it, so I didn't want to do too much with the iris and stuff like that. And so this is what I'm really throwing in chunks of color. Her hair really comes to life with all the little line work details. Her facial structure is a lot more refined and sharp, and I really like her cheekbones. I darken her hair down a bit just so I can add some poppy highlights rather than keeping it all dull. I fill in her eyebrows, a nice like burgundy red. Her lips are really pretty, and they're kind of a little bit darker and more blue than her hair is, but it's close enough that it looks cohesive, but it's not too copy where it looks like, oh, too matchy, if that makes sense. Good art words, Avery, good art words. So going in right now and adding some shadow and shading and trying to bring her face to life with some coloration, but I think there are parts where I push it just a little bit too far, and you can see me kind of pull it back. I turn the opacity down of one of the layers, and yeah, stuff like that. Right now adding in the highlights on her hair, just so you can see that the light is on her head, on top, and the shadow is really showing the weight of her curly curls on the bottom. Really just going in and doing a little bit of definition things, and I think at this point I'm just tweaking things very slightly just so I like it just enough. And as you can see, I pulled up that fluff, so I didn't have to work so much on the arms. I'm just really lightly touching in the highlight. It's really even hard to see what I'm doing at this point in general, but I'm just trying to blend things, trying to pull out some of the details. As you can see in her hair, I'm trying to make the deeper colors contrast more against the reds. Filling in that fluff, trying to make it look fuzzy and warm. Just moving things around, trying it again because I didn't like how it turned out. But yeah, so I'm coming to an end now. This piece was so fun to do, and it was so good to see how much I've progressed, and just the different forms of media and how it can really like turn a character and make her look so different just from the acrylic piece. And this one, just so vastly different, but also they capture some sort of energy that's similar. And I just like to see how much I've improved, and I really want to do more redraws in the future. And yeah, so filling in the background now, doing final touches, and just finishing up. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let's move on to the next piece. Okay, so this character I went in with pretty much no idea of what I wanted to do. So what I did was I grabbed a pose reference from Pinterest and just went from there. I really started just trying to get the form right, the proportions and the anatomy correct, which is really hard, really hard for me. But it took me a few times just to figure out exactly how I wanted her pose. She looked kind of stiff in the beginning, so I really tried to adjust that and make her form flow a bit better. And I wanted to give her more curves than my typical characters. I don't know why, but a lot of pose references are just of like really slim, long-legged, pretty girls, which is nice and fun to draw, but I wanted something more realistic and much more fun and, you know, looks more like me and like a regular person. So I really focused on getting those curves in the right places. So I specifically sought out a pose reference that depicted a normal female body. So yeah, I'm going in, creating like nice round thighs, just trying to make her pose look powerful yet delicate, which is tricky to do, but I think I hit the mark on that. So at this point, I'm really just going loosey-goosey, trying to figure out what I want this chick to be, who I want her to, what her powers to be, what her background story is. So I created a very chaotic hair that was also graceful and looked soft and fluffy. But when I went into the dress, I wanted something elegant, but like snatched. Like she really looks like the baddest. I really wanted a dress that like hugged those curves, had kind of a corset, but also was flowy. And so the I guess scarf, or I don't even know, shawl that she has is really flowy. The top of her dress is tight and the bottom is loose. I think it really just helps the whole form flow and the silhouette look really nice. So yeah, I think my favorite part of this character at this point was her hair. I loved how flowy and like just puffy and fluffy it looked, and it looked so soft, but also so long and elegant. And it just looked like the wind was just carrying it. So I don't know what brush I used for this one, but it really was fun to use with her hair. Right now I'm changing the line art color, refining some details, and figuring out exactly how long I want her legs to be, what her shoes are gonna be like. And I ended up, I think, just making her barefoot. As you can see here, I'm just making her barefoot. So yeah, right now I'm just still refining some of the line art, figuring out how long I want these tassels or whatever to be. And I'm actually proud of how I did the fabric, because if anyone's ever tried to draw fabric in folds, and it's so hard to figure out where the shadows should be and where it's difficult, but I feel like I did it. You guys let me know what you think too. So I did her eyebrows, and I'm going into her face right now, trying to figure out what facial expression to do. I wanted to go with something calm, but also like definitely angry, like she knows that you messed up and she's gonna tell you about it. But like, she's not furious, you know what I mean? Just I wanted to get that facial expression across. Trying to figure out where her hair would fall, stuff like that. Little details that make a big difference in the end. And I liked how with this line art, I really just did one and done. I didn't do the second layer of line art, like the finalized line art. I just don't think that's my thing. I really like the loose feel of things, and it really helps build up the render when it's time to do that too. Yeah. So again, really small details. I worked on this piece for a while, so I was throwing in a lot of details. Boom, bam, there's color. So I just put red in there. I really, in my head, I love the color scheme of red and white. I think it looks really good, and it's a power statement because both colors are so bold in its essence. So I threw them together. I don't end up going with the white though. Sorry, spoilers. But yes, so I make her hair this nice burgundy color, her skin a vibrant but soft red, with kind of, I guess I want to even say a little bit of orangey undertones. I'm trying to make the white work. It's just pulling my eye too much, and that's why I think I shy away from it. It's so bold against the red, and I wanted to add so many more details, but at this point I was like, it's starting to get chaotic, it's starting to get crazy. I don't know if I can use that white, but you'll see me change it down the line. Not sure when that happens, but it does. So as you can see, I'm refining her skin tone a bit. I'm making it smoother, making her have some highlights. Just really the way her eyes are set with her eyebrows and the highlight around it really brings some emotion into her face. Just really makes her look angry, but also, you know, sultry and soft. Yeah, so still working with that white. At this point, I'm like, I'm trying to make the highlights work with the white to make it all blend together. But see, here I turn it green, or like this, I don't even know what color this is. Olive? No. Indigo? Sure, who knows? But it works really well with the red rather than the white. And I like how it's even more apparent that the fabric is translucent and that you can see through it. Just really nice, knocks it out of the park. So right now I'm working on the background. This is something I worked on for so long. I just could not figure out how I wanted to do the background because I knew she needed something powerful in the back, and I'm not a background girly. I need to work on that. I have not many background skills. So I tried to find a piece online that was like just like an old ruin, and I could maybe try and render that into the style of the artwork, but it did not work, so I scrapped it. Now I'm back to just refining things. At this point, I think I had stepped away from this piece for about a week or so, so I came back and was like, what things can I change? I really wanted to cover her up a bit more, and I think I added a little bit more highlights, and I smush her features around so it fits better. Yeah. And really just small, tiny details. So boom, I bring in a piece from ChatGPT or DALL-E 3, and that really matches the aesthetic, and I asked it a bunch of prompts that would help it fit my vibe and like the way that I rendered it. And then I, you know, changed the color grading. I made it fit more with her color tone or skin tone. I add a big sun behind her because it just makes her seem even more powerful. And I start to really just move things around. I pull her neck up, elongate her neck, and I move these tassels down. At first I was gonna make them wavy, but I just ended up bringing them down because I think it makes the piece longer. And I play around with some, you know, headgear, but I end up going with nothing. So yeah, this is the final piece. I hope you guys enjoy. I really enjoyed making her. She was such a fun time. It took me, honestly, I think there was a process of about 3 weeks of just doing something, stepping away from it, looking at it with a fresh eye, and just reworking it. But yeah, it was such a good time. Good time making this one. Okay everyone, so that's all I have for you today. Just those 2 drawings on Procreate. I hope you guys enjoyed watching them. I know I enjoyed making them and explaining my process. I feel like after I explain it, I learn even more than I did when I drew it. So it's a really fun process for me, and I hope that it's a fun process for you guys to watch too. And I hope maybe you're learning something. I don't know. Also regarding videos, I'm thinking of just posting once a week with my full-time job and just life. I think once a week is a pretty, you know, manageable task for me at this point. Down the line, I'll post 2, maybe 3 videos a week, but starting off, let's just stick to 1. So every Monday, hopefully I'll be able to post something by the evening. I hope you guys tune in and enjoy them too. So at this point, that's all I've got for you. I can't wait to see you guys next week, and who knows what I'm gonna make then. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye.